Welcome to another episode of One of Those. I'm your host, Adam Butler, back with another episode. Thank you so kindly for being here. Man, I really had fun talking to today's guest, man. This dude is all over the place when it comes to sneaker culture. I joked with him that he has 1,000 jobs within the sneaker industry, and you'll see why I say that in a moment. We're going to introduce him in a second. But before that, y'all, we super close to 50 subscribers. I'm super proud of that. We almost have 50 subscribers. That means we're going to have 100 before you know it. That means we'll be at 500 before you know it. So to do that, I need your help, guys. I need your help. Subscribe to the page, okay? Subscribe to the page. Comment on the videos. Views have been good. Just need you all to subscribe to the channel, y'all. It really, really, really helps. Subscribe to the channel. Do that for your boy. Help me out. Subscribe, hit the bell, do all that stuff. I ain't trying to beg, but I do need your help. Y'all help your brother out. All right. So okay, man. On today's episode, I got my boy Rick Wilson in the building, man. He is a podcaster, a creative, a historian. He's a great conversation, man. We talked about all sorts of stuff. Oh man, I you know what? I could have talked to Rick for hours and hours about this stuff, and I think you can kind of feel that energy when you tune into the show, man. So without further ado, let's get to the interview. My man Rick Wilson is in the building. Let's go. Rick, what up, man?
What up, Mr. Butler? How you doing, man?
I'm cooling, man. We were laughing a little bit before we start recording. Like, we have things in common, We're both dads, we're both husbands, in this space. And when we were kind of like trying to get this thing scheduled, it was like, oh great, we can record it this time because I can put the kids to sleep and this, that, and another. And as we were just talking about that, bro, something popped in my mind, because when you think about sneaker culture, and I consider you an expert on the culture, and we're gonna talk about the culture in general, man. You have a heavy voice in it. I don't know how many podcasts you part of and how many shows you part of. We'll get into all of that. But I did want to ask you something that really literally just popped in my mind.
Okay.
Sneaker culture is associated with like younger people, right? Or people that are kind of like, I'm single, I got all this access money, I can spend it. All I got is really to take care of my bills, and then at the end of the day, I could buy sneakers, right? What's it like being a sneaker culture? What's it like being a sneakerhead as a dad and as a husband?
Hey, one thing that I always tell my oldest, handle your business first, and then play. So that applies to so many things, so many walks of life, whether that's doing your homework, getting your job done. That also applies to what you do in your leisure. So for some folks that's traveling, for like me and you, that's sneakers, right?
Yeah.
So make sure all the bills are paid, make sure the budget's taken care of, and then we get to look at the calendar and see what I get to buy for the month.
Yeah, you
do that. And then I also have to keep in mind, I got little ones too. So they are 9 and 7. But they're really coming into their own when it comes to fashion. Right? So I have to be mindful, like, okay, if daddy gets something, I try to get them something. Like, what do you like? What do you see? Do you want this? Like, so I have to be mindful of that.
Yeah. It's a trip because shouts out to my boy Paul Spann. We were talking earlier. So we in the DMV, and the big drop here was the DMV phone pauses, right? That was like a big deal here, right? And those things got ate up in seconds. So now he and I, as DMV sneakerheads, we it's not right that we don't have that sneaker, right? So now we're trying to figure out how we're going to get them and how we're not going to like completely bust our head open trying to get them, right?
You might have to pay the $5.
You gotta pay the $5. Okay, right? You gotta pay the $5. But how many $5s am I going to pay? Right,
exactly.
We were kind of joking around about that, and he was like, "Man, I just got my grandson some sneakers," and he was like, "Yeah, my daughter just got some new sneakers, and my son just got some phone pauses himself." So we're waiting a little bit. So it is different, you know what I mean? And I do like the what I do like about sneaker media, and I want to get into that with you because you are a part of fashion and sneaker media, you know what I mean? And you do a show and you guys really get into it. Sneaker media, to me, is more representative of where sneaker culture is. You hear a lot of people talk about, oh, sneaker culture is dead, it's boring, and it's another. No, I just think it's matured. And I think that the voices that are in sneaker media, even the big dogs like Cousteau, people like that, right, are are men who have been in it, well, men and women, excuse me, who have been in it in a while, who can really talk about it, who are responsible, who have jobs and who have families. You know what I mean?
Right.
How do you navigate that space, man? And why you talk about that? And what I mean by navigate that, like, how do you decide what stories and what you want to bring to the table as a sneaker creative, right? And while you talk about that, take a moment to shout out all of the jobs you have within sneaker media.
All right. So the main job that I have on Wednesday nights on IG Live, co-host If the Shoe Fits with Mr.
Yes,
Miller,
sir.
Kiki, and Greg, and we just talk about all things sneaker culture related, like you mentioned.
Dope show.
Appreciate that. How I handle it is I'm mindful of what I take in, right? So background about myself, I'm a history major by degree. So I like things that are fact-based. I like being able to dig into the weeds when it comes to stories, doing research about things. So as far as what I take in and what I pay attention to, that's kind of what I gravitate toward.
Yeah.
So the things that are kind of clickbaitish or things that are hype-based, they don't necessarily move the needle for me. Right?
Yeah.
So I'll watch Cousteau. I'll watch YouTube like Wear Testers because he gets into the technical aspects of it. I like the storytellers like Sneaker Fetish Kari. He gets into the backstory of sneakers, so I pay attention to him. That's the kind of stuff that I do. And then you mentioned all the podcasts. The main thing is If the Shoe Fits. There's the Shoe Dog podcast with Q and TJ. Q is in Atlanta. TJ is in London. They talk about great things. And Kicks We Trust, they're a mostly Canadian group, but they talk about it from that angle. So the fact that people even ask me to talk about these things, like you, I'm appreciative, and I could talk about it all day, to be quite honest.
I know why I asked you to be on this show, but how did you get into getting into like working with different podcasters and being a part of different casts and different shows? How did you get in that?
Because we all have this one common thread that we like sneakers, but we all have a different perspective on it. You're in the DMV. I'm from Little Rock by birth, but I live in Memphis. We're so different, but we all have, again, a commonality is sneakers, and we get to talk about these things from different perspectives. And again, that's what I love.
I mean, it brings me to the next thought I had. When I speak to someone that is a historian, is deep and entrenched in sneaker culture, I always like to ask them, why do you think that people feel like sneaker culture is losing something, or in many people's opinion, it's dying?
We talk about this on If the Shoe Fits from time to time, and we talk about it with kind of the big brands. How we fell in love with sneakers is the storytelling. If you want to call that marketing, fine. That's part of what it is. But we fell in love with the storytelling and the history. Like, this part of this shoe means this, or when we see a certain image, it kind of brings back this nostalgia, right? But a lot of what we have now is, again, clickbaitish. It's like, what can I capture like right now and then move on to the next thing? What can I capture like immediately and move on to the next thing, to try to keep engagement up instead of like digging into the weeds and telling people why this matters. And that's what's gotten lost, I think, as far as the messaging when it comes to sneakers now. It's not getting into why. We need to tell you why this is important. Like, no one's actually like selling us the shoe anymore. That's what all of these stories are. They're marketing attempts to tell us, hey, this is why you need this. This is why this is important. This is what Mike wore. This is what this person wore. That's why it's important. But they're not doing that now. So for us of a certain age, that's what we fell in love with. That's what we hold on to. And we see now none of that is really happening.
Yeah, that is true. And I do think that the companies, especially the big ones, kind of got into Nike, Jordan Brand. We're going to re-release this thing, or this is just a colorway, right? Adidas, here's the latest Yeezy. Yeezy says, wear it, buy it, right? And I think that's what was going on for a couple of years, and it ballooned. I talk about this. I know people listening to my show are sick of hearing me talk about 2020 and the pandemic, and but it's a real thing in our world, where there was like this boom in sneaker culture, right? Where everyone wanted to be a part of it all of a sudden, right? All of a sudden. And it didn't really matter. To me, the stories mattered less. It was more about, is this hype? Is this hype? Is this going to resell? Is that going to resell? Right.
Exactly.
Now that's died down, right? Like I mentioned the DMV foam and how that was a big deal to us here in DC. And that's the first sneaker I'm seeing where it's like it's reselling crazy or for a crazy amount. And I kind of want it. And the reason why is because, like you said, there was a story behind it, right? For us, it's got the cherry blossom on it, you know, it's representative DC, but it wasn't just that. Quite as kept, there was a DMV phone posit that came out last year through Armamania that did nothing. It bricked, right?
Right. Exactly.
I hit the raffle and literally didn't pick it up because it's like, you know what? I'm not about to spend that just for. But this one, Wale's in the commercial,
long overdue.
Yeah, people from DC, and I'm only saying that, you know, it's not just DC. The J Tips thing happened up in New York. I see people wrapped around the corner for that one, right? So I do think that brands are being forced to go back to storytelling and bringing an effort, you know, a certain effort to sell these sneakers. You know what I'm saying?
Get back into the streets. This thing is about community, right? It's hard to build that community. It's possible, but it's very hard to build that community through a screen or when you're all just virtual. You have to be around people and get that commonality all in one place in order to really make it feel organic, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I think you when you talked about the DMV foam and that J Tips, that whole thing, having that, being there in the trenches, being like camped out and like having people involved, that's what really moves things. That's what makes things happen.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, I had my man Haas on a couple of weeks ago. He's in New York. The J Tips thing is a big deal for him, right? I had my man Rico on last week. He's here in DC. They released the Under Armour museum collab, and there's people wrapped around the corner for that because they tell good stories. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of like smaller brands, because I always find it funny to call like Under Armour and New Balance and these other brands small when they're like, you know, I mean, most you go to Middle America, people just wearing New Balances for the sake of wearing New Balance, or they're wearing Under Armour shirts. So these aren't like tiny mom and pops, but when it comes to Nike, Adidas, they were the second tier, right? And I think that some of these second tier companies really made a come up over the past couple of years because they were being creative. They offered something different, and they weren't afraid to go get creative people to work with and tell great stories. You know,
that's exactly the point. You let your creators actually tell their story, and they're doing it from an authentic place, and it's connecting. So no wonder that your Joe Fresh Goods, your J Tips, they're doing what they're doing because it's coming from an authentic place and people are connecting with it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So with that, I don't believe sneaker culture is dying. I think it just died for people that really didn't care about it in the first place.
Right. Because their money is dying. That's what is happening. Like, oh man, this is drying up for me, so I have no interest in it. Sneaker culture is always going to be like, for me, I'm going to be 75, 80, 95 years old. I'm still going to be connected to sneakers because that's just what I love.
Yeah. Why do you love sneaker culture? What brought you into it?
Sports mostly. First and foremost. My dad played a little bit of college basketball.
Nice.
My brother played college basketball. My sister played basketball. I ran a little bit of track. So just having to have some sort of athletic sneaker around or in my closet, like that was always a thing. And then one of my first jobs was working at Just for Feet. I don't know if you remember that store that had the basketball court in the front that lets you kind of.
I don't know if we had one of them here, Just for Feet. Okay, but word up. Yes.
Yes. So that was like one of my first jobs. And being around that and just seeing, looking at it from more than just the consumer side. Again, historian by trade, learning how things work, like learning the sneaker calendar, like all that stuff just interested me. So it just kind of took off from there.
You know, you bring up sports and sneakers, and that's an interesting point because when we were younger, that's what drove them, right? Like it was Jordan shoe, it was Penny's shoe, it was this person's shoe, Shaq, whatever, right? Well, maybe not Shaq so much, but you know, just
right.
You know, the Shaq's still okay, you know what I mean? But you know, like you know, this athlete was associated with this shoe. I talked about the first sneaker I ever purchased with my own money, and it was the Diamond Turf Dion's because it was Dion. You know what I mean? Not so much now, though, right? Not so much now. In terms of fashion, right? I'm sure when it comes to the performance thing, you may want to get like the latest, the Curry or the Luka Doncic, whatever, right?
Right.
Do you think that, especially with the women stepping into the game, right? The Angel Reese's of the world with Reebok, and I'm sure Caitlin. I don't know, did Caitlin get a sneaker deal? I can't remember.
She did get a deal.
That's right. She got the big one. That's right. She got the big one at Nike, and then obviously, more people have gotten them. The GOAT has one right now. All of that, right? Do you think that the women entering the sneaker game as athletes could kind of push that again and put that back in the forefront, that the athletes are selling the sneakers now, or the reason why people want to buy sneakers now?
Yes, we kind of talked about that on last week's If the Shoe Fits, about next year, 2025 in the WNBA, and how we saw how competitive it could be. Because Caitlin has a deal, Angel has a deal, Asia Wilson has a deal.
Asia Wilson has a deal.
Cameron Brink has a deal with New Balance. You're going to have this influx of new players. Paige Beckers has a PE NIL deal with Nike already.
Wow.
And we saw how that's going to matriculate, even with the Cooper flag. Some of the New Balance. That's a different thing. But women, but women are going to push the envelope forward as far as making sure that sneakers have function and fashion. Because to be quite honest, they put on, when it comes to fashion, better than we do anyway. Right?
Yeah.
So I want to make sure they want to make sure that it follows both. Because you said it best, that sneakers nowadays, not a lot of them have like the streetwear kind of thing. Like I saw the discussion. Oh, is it cool to wear like basketball sneakers with jeans, or like it's a fashion thing? Like we never stop, right?
Right.
But people just say that to be kind of clickbaitish or just to try to get engagement. But we never stop. However, you are 100% correct when you think that women are going to push it forward, because again, that's just what they do. They are in the forefront when it comes to sports and marketing, as far as making sure that I think women come from a more authentic place. Anyway, they don't want to have, like, they already get so much pushback just for existing. So if I'm going to put myself out there to push a message, it's going to be what I want and match my ethos, my aesthetic. And I think they're going to pay attention to that. So I'm like very excited for Asia Wilson's shoe. Wilson, my last name Wilson. This whole house will be like Asia Wilson, A1 out. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I love Asia Wilson. I like what Reebok's doing with the Angel Reese. I like that kind of lifestyle look. I was just complimenting Reeking them with the Under Armour, and it has that lifestyle look. So I think that's the way to go. I like that. And also, let's just be honest, and I'm not saying this to like pander or anything like that. It's just the truth. The women, the stars in the WNBA, there's only one LeBron, right? In terms of like global popularity, there's only one Michael Jordan. I'm not saying that, Angel Reese is as popular as Michael Jordan, but Angel Reese is probably one of the most popular basketball players in the world. Not women's basketball players. Caitlin Clark is probably one of the most popular basketball players in the world, not women. Asia,
period.
On and on, right? Period, right? So it's not like a handout or, let's just help these. It's you earned
it. Exactly.
You're popular. Your sneaker, if we just give you a good, like I have my man on Pharaoh, he's from Adidas, and he works over the basketball division. And we talking about that Anthony Edwards and how it was a lot of lightning in the bottle, and Ed was just playing really great. Right. He's super popular, but also they came up with a silhouette that looks good. All that has to happen, right?
Right. Everything. Yes.
Everything has to happen. So that's why I say I like what they're doing with Angel Reese sneaker, because it looks good. I'd like to see what Caitlin's sneaker looks like. Asia, I'm sure hers, as they keep going, things are going to look great. Right. That's what it's about. If it looks good and these women who are super popular are the ones rocking it, people will want to get down.
And that's the other thing. You have to actually believe in what you're wearing, right? So the thing about like the Puma Mellow or even the Luka, the JT, some of these other performance shoes, I'm not sold that you actually believe in the product that you're wearing, because how often do we see some sort of anything with you in that shoe? We don't. But the difference is, like, I believe in what I'm wearing. Like Anthony Edwards, he wholeheartedly believes in the product that he's wearing. So you see him front and center, he's going to push that shoe no matter what. like you feel the authenticity when he's talking about that shoe. Whereas in some shoes that's missing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm about to say, even a sneaker that I don't really love, the book, right? I don't love that book, but
I do. I do. When you put it on your foot, it'll
yeah.
change your. Yes.
You know what?
When you put it on your foot, it will change your mind. It is
Okay.
an amazing shoe on foot.
Really? Okay. You know what? I'm willing to give it a try. The only reason I don't know, I mean, when I say I don't love the book or don't like the book, that's probably a little extreme. I just think it's just like kind of plain. And then I don't love that, like, here's the air raid version of the book. Here's the diamond turf version. I didn't like when Braun was doing that either, right? But that's not a big deal. What I will say is that he believes in that shoe, and that's why that shoe stands out.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, like, that's why, like, out of all the top flight NBA players, I can name the book and I can name the Anthony Edwards. I'm not thinking about Giannis sneaker or, I'm not thinking about Lucas Jordan, which Jordan he's got. I'm not thinking about that because, like you said, it's just like, here's a shoe, wear it on the court. It's specified to your needs on the court, but, like, other than that, does it look good? Did you market it? Is there what else is there?
I add something. TikTok, something showing that you connect with something that shows that you connect with your own product. And you don't see that.
Yeah, and that goes all the way back to that storytelling piece, which is to me, I think that, as the more and more I talk to people, the more and more I think about it, it's the backbone of sneaker culture. You say you came up because of basketball. We could tell a million stories about, like, oh man, I think about that diamond turf and I just think about Dion in San Francisco when that thing came out and how it's got the San Francisco colors and how I'm a Washington fan, but even then you got a Washington fan, even a little kid version of a Washington fan, probably the most loyal person on earth, to look at San Francisco for a minute and go, they're kind of cool. You know what I mean? And those memories are etched in my brain. Shouts out to Shake. He talks about the how Run DMC and all those, all that history he had with them and Jam Master Jay and how that influences his thought process. So some of it is creating memories that you'll never be able to take away from us. And that's why I think we stick around. Tell me what you think about this. That's kind of why we stick around as dudes that are dads and husbands now. But what about that kid that's 15, 16 years old, 12, 13 years old? What stories and what memories are they getting,
From the brands, they're not getting, we talked about this, they're not getting that many because the brands aren't doing a good job of doing that. They're going to get their stories from us. Whether we pass that down to them, whether like I'm going to take you to go see Asia Wilson play this game, or I'm going to take you to see this sporting event, and you're going to see this athlete with this shoe on. Like that's how you're going to build that memory that way. The other way that you build a memory is you have to get the shoes and make them available for the kids. Like, God bless Kobe. One of the things that he complained about, and what Vanessa complained about, was that kids could not get his shoe. The reason that we're old sneakerheads now is because back then we had shoes that we coveted and we could get.
You could walk in the store and get them.
Right, exactly. Kids they kind of don't have that luxury when it comes to the sneakers that we think are the needle movers. They don't have that luxury of having those shoes available to them. So you can't make old sneakerheads out of the young ones if they don't have the product. That's part of the problem.
Yeah. That discussion came up recently when they talked about, undefeated fours and Galaxy foams and Wu-Tang.
Nothing under a 7, right?
Yeah. And those are our memories, right? Like we remember standing in line for Galaxy foams, and we remember the hype around the undefeated fours and all of that stuff, right? And on one hand, I don't see anything wrong with saying, like, look, we're gonna look out for the people that's been around. You've been wanting the sneaker forever. We're gonna drop it. Watch it throw on bronze. Like, okay, that's just what you wanted that years ago.
Right
now you can get it, right? Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but again, if you're a young person, you do not care about undefeated fours.
Nope.
Unless
if you even know what that like.
No, you didn't even know.
Right.
Even know. So it's an interesting thing. But what I feel like I'm learning from you is that and getting confirmation is that sneaker culture is not about the brands. The brands got to do their part.
Right.
But the people control the stories. It's a communal thing. It's
exactly
like you said. I went to that game. I saw Asia Wilson playing. I went to this game. I went down. I was out. Blah 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 blah. I stood in line.
Yes.
Whatever it may be.
It's about us. We control. You just talked about Undefeated 4. You know why? Because we keep clamoring like, oh man, I wish I could get that.
Yeah.
Whether we actually go on social media and like at these brands and say, hey, bring this back, or they see what happens with certain shoes like on the resale market.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how they move a little bit, right? So they'll see the clamoring and like, oh, that's doing this. Well, what if we brought this back? What can we do there? Like that moves a little bit of the needle for them too. It also moves the price point. Like, oh, because if you're paying that much for that shoe, you know it ain't worth that much. We go ahead and tax you for this because we know that you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Example being the Lightning 17s, right?
Right.
Okay. Right. $300 for a shoe. That's a very dope shoe. This briefcase is all cool. I don't want to pay $300 for that. Retail $300. I don't want to do that. But they know that it'll go.
Yeah.
Because it'll go.
Yeah.
Like if you only make so many.
Yeah.
The nostalgia behind it, including the briefcase with it, it's gonna go. That's the nostalgia piece that we talked about.
Gonna get them. Yeah.
Somebody's gonna get them. Right.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, man. That's it's I laugh because there's a lot of righteousness in sneaker culture, right? Like, and it's, I don't make fun because it's coming from a good place. People want to correct it. People want it because we care about it, right?
We care about it, right?
But at the end of the day, you said it like this, like I didn't get them. Nobody I know bought them, but they sold out.
Exactly. Somebody go.
Yeah. So what pressure are you really putting on? I'm a Marvel fan, right? Like,
yes,
Marvel has some pressure put on it when the Marvels came out. Not to get all deep into comic book stuff, but the Marvels came out, it bombed by all measures of a Marvel movie.
Right? It didn't live up to the expectations of a Marvel. Correct.
And then from there, Marvel said, okay, so we need to make some changes and we need to do X, Y, and Z because the pressure online from the fan base and then the actual action of people saying, you can't, we're not going to go see this movie no matter how much you tell me I should go see it, right? That created change. Or at least we feel like they say they're creating change, right?
Right.
In sneaker culture, I haven't, you get some things that like all that brick, people talk about something brick. But I'm like, nah, I don't think Nike has really had a situation where it's like, oh my God, we released something that was supposed to be, it was a collab with this person and they were limited and no one bought them. Maybe like a DJ Khaled 5 or something like that, but that's not like a hit for Nike. You know what I mean? So
the things that they want to make sure that they move one way or the other.
Yeah.
I didn't care about that Khaled 5 because they didn't make a 14 anyway.
Right.
What they had again, there was a point in time, like over a couple of years, where they just, if it was a collab or something that was hyped, they did not make a size 14 at all. They completely skipped it. That Khaled was one of them. But when it comes to what they really want to push and move, and what they will give a little bit of effort. Like, we got to move this one.
Yeah.
And they do, but they don't have like really, really bad bricks. If you want to look at something outside of our space, when I say our space, I mean our sneakerhead space.
Sure.
Because you could argue that the Year 12 was kind of a miss.
That was
from a collab perspective.
Yeah.
If you want to look at Nike itself, however you might feel about the Air Max DN, you might think that was a miss. I think it's a miss because they targeted a demographic that didn't really care about it, right? Like you didn't tell them like why that shoe was. Again, people want to know why things should be important to them. Yeah, when you only say, "Oh, this person is wearing that shoe," that person ain't Travis Scott. He's not going to move the needle like that. Right, he's not going to move the needle like that. You have to. Right. If you're going to do that, you have to connect with someone that is going to grab their attention. Yeah, for whatever reason, whether that's money, whether it's the entertainment factor. They didn't do a good job with the DN, and that shoe went on sale almost like immediately. Yeah. So they have their moments that they try, but they just with that one, it it didn't curl quite right with that one didn't hit right.
Yeah, I think what it mainly does is it causes them to go, maybe we should be more selective with who we collab with or who we work with, right? Like the Nocta, like the Drake thing does not work, right? Nobody's really checking for that one. I think maybe like the orange ones kind of hit, but other than that, the Nocta doesn't really hit. So like, I'm not saying about the dump Drake or nothing like that, but
no.
You know, maybe they get more selective, but I don't see the situation where like the people brought down Nike and now, but I will say the silver lining in that is that if some Jordan 1 comes out and there's no hype around it, but they wanted it to be hype and it's sitting in the store, that's good for you.
That's good for us, right? Because the selection, there's options.
It's
like we talked about. You can't make an old sneakerhead out of a young one if they have nothing to buy. So it's actually good for them to be able to go into a store and see, oh, well, there are stories where you're like, you know what, I couldn't get this shoe.
Yeah,
this shoe was on sale, so that becomes my new favorite shoe because I can get it and I'm going to rock it for years on end. Yeah, that stuff still matters.
Yep, and so the corporations are going to be the corporations, right? We can fight power, and I'm down for that. But really, what it is find your story. If you're invested in something like this, sneaker culture, passion culture, whatever it may be, right? Hip hop culture. There's an artist out there you may really love. There's a piece of art out there that you may really love. There's a sneaker out there that you may really love, and you may be able to walk into, name that JD Sports, whatever, spend $70, $60, $100 maybe,
right,
and find something that you put on your feet, and you feel good with it, and everybody's like, "Oh, those are dope. Where'd you get those?" And you're not to do it for other people's opinions, but you know,
as long as it's dope to you, that's all that matters. That's first and foremost.
And now,
dope to you.
Yep, absolutely. And now you're part of sneaker culture.
Exactly.
And that's the fun part. That's what sneaker culture is to me. It's the conversation piece. It's meeting dope people like you, having these conversations, and having this shared love for footwear.
That's right. I love it.
Yeah, man.
Again, every day I could talk about sneakers. Every day.
Every day, brother. Every day, man. Every day, man. Before I let you go, let them know where they can hear you, see you, follow you, all of that stuff, man.
So I am Rick Dubb, RICKDUBB, just about anywhere. So that's the space formerly known as Twitter. IG. I have a TikTok that I don't really use, but I have one. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, I'm on If the Shoe Fits. That's me, Mr. Miller, QC, Kiki Cutie, Lace Differently. That's Greg. Every Wednesday, we're talking about something different within the sneaker culture, and it's coming from an authentic and real place. We give our takes, but it's more like sneaker PTI, not sneaker first take, if you know what I'm saying.
I can dig it. Yeah. It's a dope show, y'all. Check it out, please, man. Rick, thank you so much, man. Let's do this again. Seriously, let's do this again, man. You be part of my team too, right?
Appreciate you. I got another one. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
Oh, man, I appreciate you too, man. Have a good night.
You too.
Big shout out to Rick, man. Check out all of the shows, okay? Definitely check out If the Shoe Fits, man. I'm telling you, it is a dope show. They go live. I really enjoy watching it, man. Those folks, they really get into it, and it's just real lively, fun and funny conversation. So check them out, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you all for supporting this channel and supporting the show. Shouts out to everyone that I met at Podcast Movement last week, man. A lot of dope creators at Podcast Movement. I can't wait to have some of them on the show. I can't wait to collab with some of them. We talked about doing collaborations and doing all sorts of stuff. I can't wait to get to all of the other functions, all of the black folk I met down there, man, all the black podcasters. You can check my page. I met a lot of people, talked to a lot of people. It was a really, really great time, and I learned a lot. So you'll see me implementing some of these things into this podcast as well, and you'll see some new faces on this podcast, people that I met down there that are just really dope people to talk to, and they have an interest in sneakers as well. So, all right. Again, thank you. Follow me, MSR_Adam, MSR_Adam. That's me on socials. Hit the link tree. Subscribe to this page. Subscribe to this channel, I should say. Do all of those things, man. Follow me on social media. Check out my reels. Check out my shorts. Check out my TikToks. All of that stuff. You know what it is, man. Check me out, right? Remember to mind your mental health. ladies and gentlemen, mind your mental health. It's super important. It's probably the most important thing you can do. Love yourself. Get outside. Buy a sneaker. Rock your favorite sneaker. I don't care what brand it is. I don't care what color it is. Get outside with your craziest or your favorite sneaker and enjoy your life. Mind your mental health. Get outside with your favorite sneaker. Enjoy your life. Mind your physical health, okay? Take care of yourself. Love yourself. Love life. Why not, right? Because when we love life, we can't forget, and we'll never forget to be great. I'm up out of here. Peace.